Dozens of Americans across a variety of professional fields have been fired or put on leave from their jobs after conservatives contacted their employers over social media comments they made about right-wing activist Charlie Kirk a week or so ago, following his assassination. Others have been punished for small acts of defiance. Everyone from an Office Depot worker in Michigan who was sacked for refusing to print tribute flyers with Kirk's face on them, to late-night host Jimmy Kimmel, who ABC suspended after he seemed to criticize how MAGA supporters responded to Kirk's death. Attorney General Pam Bondi faced a backlash even within the Trump base for saying the administration would crack down on hate speech, suggesting the Justice Department could prosecute businesses and individuals on those grounds. But Vice President J.D. Vance has endorsed the idea of calling the employers of anyone seen as dancing on Kirk's grave. Kirk, for the record, wrote on X last year, "Hate speech does not exist legally in America. There's ugly speech, there's gross speech, there's evil speech, and all of it is protected by the First Amendment." In practice, though, he and Turning Point USA, the nonprofit he co-founded and led, could be openly retaliatory against those they disagreed with. The organization has long maintained, for example, a professor watch list of educators they claim push liberal propaganda and discriminate against conservative students in the classroom. College faculty members have called it an attempt to intimidate and inspire harassment. It's no great shock, then, that Kirk's allies and admirers took it upon themselves to surveil public reactions to his death, singling out those who expressed a lack of sympathy or outright contempt for the activist, or simply quoted his most inflammatory statements. Right-wing influencers have relentlessly campaigned for those people to lose their jobs, tagging their employers' online accounts, and inundating their places of work with aggrieved emails and phone calls. But the most concerted effort on this front came in the form of a website initially called charliesmurderers.com, which was accessible as of a couple weeks ago, the day after Kirk was assassinated. Billed by its anonymous organizers as a searchable database of 20,000 people celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder, the page provided, along with names and photos, personal information such as an individual's social media handles, employer, city of residence, and email address. People posting the identifying information include Shaya Rachik, who runs the hugely influential Libs of TikTok account on X, Laura Loomer, and former Proud Boys leader / FBI informant Enrique Tarrio. Currently, the website is down, and I am unaware if it is due to the hosting domain name being pulled or other reasons such as legal threats. One of the first names listed on the site was Rachel Gilmore, an independent journalist at Bubble Pop Media, who wrote on X that she was terrified to think of how far-right fans of Kirk, aching for more violence, could very well turn this into an even more radicalizing moment. Will they now believe their fears have been proven right and feel they have a right to retaliate, regardless of who actually was behind the initial shooting? As Wired reported, this is exactly how much of the far right, along with the Republican lawmakers, including President Donald Trump, did respond to the news, even though no suspect had been arrested and no motive had been revealed. For Gilmore, the impact of her inclusion on the website was instant and terrifying. Gilmore has received multiple death and rape threats since the site went live. The site's operators, who are anonymous, claim to have received thousands of submissions. The website asks people to submit a potential target's full name, location, and employer information, as well as screenshots of incriminating social media posts via email. More websites. Before reading any further, I highly recommend that anyone who attempts to access these websites uses a VPN with private tabs, or better yet, the Tor browser, and have a reliable antivirus before typing in any of these links. Otherwise, your IP address, MAC address, and a slew of other identifiable information will be given to the site owners who clearly have no good intentions. Not to mention the possibilities of spyware and other forms of malware which could be present. While charliesmurderers.com is not accessible at the moment, other sites have sprouted up in hopes to achieve the same goals, such as charliekirkmemory.online, which has been shut down, charliekirkdata.org, which is also shut down, and cancelthehate.com, which is still online. Surely there will be more to appear, and I will attempt to keep the list updated accordingly. How to take them down. While it is likely that some founders of these websites will be exposed publicly, the ones who manage to remain anonymous will not suffer the consequences of receiving the same treatment they are dishing out regarding exposure. However, there are several steps that can be taken to have these domains shut down. Report the website domains. All websites, excluding massive social media networks like Facebook, use third-party domain providers. Each one of them, especially the most popular, have links where abuse can be reported. While this is not a guaranteed method when it comes to issues such as thousands of everyday Americans having their personal information leaked on the internet, including home addresses, odds are that the domain providers will take action. You can find a domain provider by using websites such as whois.com. Report the websites to their hosting provider. Again, excluding large websites, most rely on third-party hosting providers and do not maintain their own servers. If the hosting information is accessible, links are generally available to also report abuse or illegal content. Hosting providers must comply with local and or national laws. They also do not want negative exposure, just like any other business. You can find a hosting provider by using an online tool such as hostingchecker.com. I'd also like to note that many websites mask their host using services such as DNS resolvers like Cloudflare. Even then, you can report abuse to the DNS provider, who may also take action. Flood the websites with DDoS attacks. For those who are a bit more tech savvy or experienced, there are plenty more advanced methods to take down a website. Ethical hackers, a hat I took off years ago, have a plethora of techniques. However, for the average Joe, you can still do some major damage. This is by flooding a website with what are called distributed denial of service attacks. It basically sends a bunch of requests to a website with a single IP address, or in other words, overwhelms a website with way too much traffic. One person can generate thousands to tens of thousands of requests in mere minutes. Do this on a large enough scale with enough people, and even the largest servers will be in serious trouble. While there are ways to mitigate these attacks, none are foolproof. And even better, the people making these websites don't seem to be the most talented web developers, nor the brightest. You can easily use a website such as loic.live or hoic.live to do this. Again, before taking this step, it is very important to use a VPN or proxy because, like I stated previously, your IP address will be shared.